Right.
Yeah, legal writing lends itself very nicely to this method. And it's interesting, again, you have a focus skill that you're, a discrete skill, you've broken it down into discrete parts, you teach the individual parts. The end result is legal writing skill. And this seems to be what happens once people focus on having a specific thing that they have to teach. And an understanding that this is the best, it evolves to that method typically. Okay, well, we're going to get into reflective analysis. How do you get informative feedback? How is that handled? How are the video files managed? That sort of thing. So again, you can use Microsoft OneNote. I demonstrated that. If you want to do it live, OneNote, unfortunately, it would be great. Maybe their next release will have this. While it's live, you can make notes. The idea is that students will use this in the classroom with their audio and record the class and make notes while they're typing, then they can go back to it and play it back. But they don't have the capacity to pick up a video, play it, and make notes on it while it's playing. It seems a simple task for them to insert that into the software, and maybe they saved it for the next release. I think it was just because their focus was on a note-taking utility that students could use in class live, rather than capturing video or audio and then later annotating it. But if OneNote had annotation capability after the fact, then it would be a superb tool for supervisors or students to just go through and make notes. And then the key to evaluation in terms of feedback is being able to get to what the students were seeing when they made their observation and review that. And so you're seeing the same thing and then you're giving them feedback on the same performance. That's what's hard about video, is indexing, jumping around, seeing the same thing, responding to the same thing. So OneNote is a perspective vehicle for that. It's certainly a vehicle if you have an observer who's watching a live performance. So the camera can be connected to the observer's computer. Use OneNote and just type your notes as the performance is going on, and then after the fact, when you're giving feedback, you just, now theoretically it could be fed in, and this kind of note-taking could be done in your office while something is happening in one of your interviewing rooms. So that's a way to construe this technology. And Microsoft actually is one of the sponsors of our project. They provided us with software and other network software, other kinds of resources, along with CID to set up our project. And they gave us 200 licenses of OneNote to use in the project. Okay, here's the one that I've been using up until now. This picture didn't capture well, but there's supposed to be a video picture of a student performance in that window. And let me show you this one. It's one of these. There it is. Okay, I provide students with templates. And the templates are laid out so that they put their start times and end times for various events that they see in their video. And then they write their comments about what happened there. And then I provide my comments and my feedback as to what I observed during that time frame. And so this is a student who went through and commented. This is on a 15-minute video. And this isn't all that unusual for a student to spend this much time, an hour's time, go through the video, make comments, think about what happened, and then I have them do a post-exercise reflection so that they're not only looking at the discrete elements, they're sitting back now and saying, what did I learn? What did I do wrong? What should I do for the next round? And then I'll go through that and provide my comments as well. So this is one way to deal with the video. And what I didn't show you.
What's the time involved in doing that?
I've had the students record their time for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. And some students will spend as much as 2 hours on the review of a 15-minute segment.
I'm sorry, that was ambiguous. The
don't
question
care
we're all
about
asking is, how much teacher time is involved in reviewing that, I mean, how long a segment is it?
Okay.
How long does it take you to review it?
15-minute segment, 20 minutes to a half hour.
To review it and to write the notes?
Uh-huh.
Because you did it simultaneously. You watched as you were and looked at their comments, and you wrote in your...
I'm listening and typing as fast as I can, trying not to pause the video unless I have to. But invariably you do, and it takes longer than the exercise to review it.
Because
Okay.
our experience, at least in the trial practice thing, our experience is it takes 2 to 3 times as long as the video to review it and
Yeah,
comment on it.
well, a half hour, this is a 15-minute video. Undoubtedly, I spend a half hour on the review. Now, there are ways to shorten that, and we're going to get to those. I think this process can be made... What's that?
No, that's the carrot, that we're going to get to those.
Oh, okay. Okay, now, this doesn't just materialize out of thin air. The students get, with every exercise, a template. And the template has instructions as to how they're to analyze that video, what they're to look for, and then, and this actually isn't what, they use this as part of their preparation, a number of questions to address, more than they'll have time to address. I don't expect them to address everything. I expect them to see what they see and to comment on it. If I see other things, I'll add that to the evaluation. And then here's the blank template all laid out for them. They just fill in the blanks, and you can see all it is a table with headings that they fill in. And the result is this kind of analysis that the student produces. Now, also in line with the exercise is an instruction document that they have to review. That's why you see the hour or 2 hours they spend in advance. They go through the instruction document. The way the course works out, I have a theory class for every 2 exercises. So we'll have a theory class where we focus on they're going to practice that week. What's the theory? The other thing, during the semester, I probably had, except for this one student, who's my outlier, nearly 100% attendance at every class. Probably 5 total absences during the semester, accumulated over the other 15 students. They simply, because the theory class is about the exercises, and the exercises, the most efficient way to do them is to come to class. Because if you don't come to class, then you have to schedule to do it somewhere else and make an appointment with that student, and it takes more time and it's more effort. So the theory class motivates them to come in because they know they have to. The theory class is, they do some readings, they have preparation for the exercise, but the theory class is designed to tie it together, to connect the performance to the theory. And so it motivates participation and incentive to prepare. So yes?
At the beginning, when they come to the first class or whatever, do you give them one of these forms that's actually been filled out so they can see what one could or should look like, or just give them a blank one and just let them...
I've been giving you blank ones, but beginning next semester, we probably have a couple of years to go on this project. One of the things I've been able to do is to automate, using hot docs, automate all of these exercises. And we're in the process of doing that over the Christmas break so that everything's laid out. They're going to get a packet. Every exercise, every set of instructions will be there in advance. And they will have examples of every exercise. I have examples now, but they're not exactly, they're me. I have better examples coming that they'll have next semester. Every exercise they can look at someone else doing it that did it well in advance.
So they look at a tape.
Well, I mean, I use that word anymore.
So they look at the exercise, the actual recording of the exercise.
Recording of the exercise. That's
I
good.
know my guys would really like to see that thing that you just put on the screen, a filled out one. Oh, I see, I get it.
That's a good point. Actually, next semester we're trying something entirely new. But we've added another section of the class, which is logistically impossible. And I have some of my top performers from the last few years are redoing these exercises, and those are going to be made, and I'm going to make their evaluations available to the students, as well as the performance, so they can look at the performance and the evaluation in advance of doing the exercise.
So they'll look ahead of time before doing the
They
particular.
can. Those things I don't check on, other than as the students who do that learn faster, and you can tell who's really doing that. So here's a long exercise. One of the things I'm adding to these exercises is the theory. I haven't had theory in them, these instructions, but I'm going to have a synopsis of the theory underlying the performance. If this is about timelines, a summary of what timelines are and how you do timelines. Down here, I tell them what to look for in timelines, and where they should read in the Binder, Bergman, and Price, and Treadway, I guess it is, Tremblay, and the guidelines that they're to have, and so they have to study these. If they're motivated, they look at this as a rigorous thing that they have to spend time on in advance, and that's what makes it valuable for them. So they have their instructions, which will now include a summary of what was in the theory class for next semester. Okay, well that's the word processing with media player. Now what I didn't show you is you can pop up media player and it stays on top, and you can type, the image doesn't go away, the sound doesn't go away, and you can go up and click and pause it and finish your typing, and you can drag the scrubber and get back and forth. Okay, not terrifically efficient, but it's a lot better than playing with a videotape on a videotape player kind of thing. Cuts the time way down. Okay, the next one is the performance analysis tools. I think we're about to see a revolution in the use of video. And I was only persuaded of that on Friday, or last Thursday, I think. I received an email from a graduate student at LSU saying, well, do you know about this tool? I'd never heard of it. Because we've been building a similar tool, and the only reason we're building it is we didn't know one existed, and we'd searched the web and hadn't found it. And I think I copied, did I copy you? I copied somebody on the email. In any case, performance analysis tools would be, I think, what is the next step in this process. And this is where you get to saving the time that you were talking about. Let's take a look at that. Okay, we've got OneNote, the word processing, template, media player approach, performance analysis tools. Okay, and I say tools now because there are two of them, which is very nice, actually. And we call this Taming the Video Monster. My wife's in theater. I said, should we call this Taming the Video Giant or something? She said, no, Monster. Monster conveys the emotion and the importance of it. And this is a tool being funded by the Center for Instructional Design, and they're now funding it rather than developing it. We have outside programmers that are helping to fund. And it's collaboration with the dance department and the law school. We got together with...
Probably a first.
Well, it turns out we have nearly identical objectives, and we have, in designing this thing, we've had very few conflicts over what should be in this tool. It turns out their needs are our needs, and our needs are their needs, and it's been a very compatible collaboration. Okay, this is just a little image of the tool. Here are the challenges. Managing real-time demands of video review. We wanted to shorten that. We had to come up with a tool that would allow us to look at video more quickly, more effectively, and more efficiently. We wanted to have something that would help us to master the mechanics of locating and playing specific things. These templates I showed you, the student has a comment. The way I get to that is by listening through the whole thing, or dragging the scrubber and trying to guess where 5 minutes and 32 seconds is, and that takes time, and it's a little tedious. So we want something that will help minimize that tedium and reduce that time. We want to preserve the context while focusing on specific events. So this is not like a video editor where you edit out clips and then look at them. If you want to go more broadly, everything's always in context. So you can back up, you can go forward and see the context. And then the tool should be simple. It's not a video editor. That's one of the great benefits of it. It doesn't require the technical knowledge that Adobe Premiere or other video editors would require. So it's a straightforward tool meant to be used by skills instructors. And then, well, I don't know what that one means anymore.
That was the question.
Yeah, you find time anyway. Selecting and organizing specific video clips. One of the things we want the tool to do is when you're giving feedback to somebody, say the student comes in, you say, let me show you 3 things, bing, 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 and you want to get to them quickly. And then tracking performance over time. Students done 3 exercises, or I have them do 5 counseling exercises at the beginning of the semester. We start with counseling rather than interviewing for a lot of reasons, but by the 5th one, I'd like them to go back, or they do a baseline actually, they do a 6th. With no training at all in the first week of the semester, they counsel me on a legal problem I have. And then at the end of the semester, they go back, they interview me and counsel me. End of the semester, they go back and look at that. This tool will allow me to put side by side their performance in any of those videos that they record throughout the semester. Okay, what does it do? It indexes and records events without modifying the video recording, keeps an XML file on disk that is an index into the video. It allows the user to define the classification system used. So there's a set of buttons here, I'll show you this in a second, that you just click on anytime a certain event occurs. And then you can have as many buttons as you want, but you can also have a discrete set displayed and change button sets, and we'll get into some of the advantages of that in a moment. You can annotate events. You click on a button, you can pause the video, and you can type and say something about it. That gets stored with that classification so that you can come back to that later. It's built around the QuickTime 7 and Windows Media Player. It handles media, any media that either of those video display playback programs can handle, this will handle. And you see the color coding here. When you click on the events, get stored in a database, and when they display, they come up with a color. So you can quickly see whether you've got events of the same type or not. I'll show you what that means in a minute. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention that a couple of the guests we have coming this afternoon from the Patient Simulation Center are using a commercial package that's very similar in functionality to this, that was originally developed for people in sports programs and professional sports teams. And you can set up a color coding scheme and buttons. When you see a behavior or a certain type of thing you want to annotate, you just push a button and it marks that in the video, and you can come back to it later on. So this was a package developed for commercial sports teams, football, basketball.
That one was part of inspiration for this. The people in dance were using that, but it required a technician. I mean, it's high-end stuff, $100,000 for a few copies.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to, it's called Studio Code.
Yes.
Very good, but didn't fit his situation or ours. And so we're looking at a low-end version of that. You can sort these events. I want to see all events of a certain type, and then you can play them sequentially. And so the idea is that, and then when you're, as a faculty member or an expert reviewing the student's work, when you comment on it, you can put a tag on it that says, when it gets back to the students, sort the ones that I've said you should look at. These are the ones that have my additional comments in them, my feedback. And so an efficient way of getting feedback to the students as well. And stored in XML so it can be used by other programs, the data from this. Okay, and then, well, let me show it to you first, then I'll show you the features under development. Should have a version of it running here. There we go. This is the PAT tool, Performance Analysis Tool. It's in late alpha right now. We're going to use it next semester in our classes, but only experimentally. I'm not going to rely on it yet. And what it does is it allows you to create what's called a session file. A session file connects a video with a set of buttons used for classification. And you can watch, this is a little video put out by an ABA program 30 years ago, 20 years ago, that makes a nice little demonstration though. You notice down the right, these are the number of times that button was hit. So it counts them as you do it. And if we look, this is at the end of the process here. If we look back at the beginning, it has a number of, this one doesn't seem to have any. Let me look at client actions. I annotated one of these for this example. I don't see my annotations right now. Maybe that was, I've got another video, I'll look in that one. In any case, well, it's not saving my annotations, which would be most disconcerting. The idea here is that rather than having your template, you have a way of quickly tagging things, putting them into categories. One way to do this is just to sit here with these buttons in front of you, and every time you see something, click on it. And it never works. We're putting a backup button in that will back up X number of seconds, and then you can click. But so you can sit up here and you click the backup button, you say, oh, I saw that, because you never see it until it's gone by. Then you just come down and click your button. And every time you click a button, it creates a new event tag. It tags an event as belonging to that kind of thing. And you can, if you watch the little scrubber down here, as I click on these, you'll see that it's jumping around in the video. Go down here. See, it's moving toward the end of there. These are all sorted in event order, time order. And so it's classifying events for me and ordering them in a database and then displaying an index of that database over on the right. And so I can, at any point, pick an event.
When did the accident happen, Ms. Marshall? What was anyone into?
Well, the place.
All right, what are the names of the doctor? Now, who made the estimate?
Prescription.
How long have you been off work? Let's see.
I must have clicked on 22 here.
I was laid up for about 2 weeks, really, without doing much of it.
Okay, you can see the operation of it from that.
Around a long time, and
So the idea is that each of these events is instantly accessible. Now, you have to do more than that. You have to sort them, you have to filter them, you have to be able to get to them. And we have, for example, I can take a category sort here and have it sort them by color. So you can see, as you go through, all of the events are sorted together. Or even better, I can take one where the lawyer is asking open questions, and now it only displays the open questions. So, let's listen to his open questions.
What can I do for you today, Ms. Marshall? Now, please tell me how the accident happened. Give me every detail you can remember.
okay.
That later. Now, after you got to the hospital, what happened? Now, how are you feeling now?
Well,
The scene of the accident and draw a sketch for me.
Okay.
You put it in the street.
And then the next one, 5 open questions, which is well with this. Well, this is a caricature of a lawyer. I'll show you some of these in a moment. But, see, demeans client, 6. Leading question, 6. Encourages anger, 1. Owning the problem, 5. Let's do owning the problem. This is a lawyer who takes charge, and the client no longer has the problem, it's the lawyer's problem, and so we'll see what he...
Well, that's all right. I think I'll be able to get that later. Now, after you got to the hospital, what happened?
important.
Well, that's all right, I'll get hold of him, and we'll be able to track him down and see if, now, I take it that the car is, well, now, Mrs. Marshall, we don't want to get that car repaired yet. Don't have the car repaired. We want to leave it like that so I can get some photographs of it to show the extent of the damage. It's very important that we just leave that car in its present condition. I know we'll be without a car, but I'm afraid for the purposes of this suit, we're going to have to leave it unrepaired until I can get the photographs.
How long do you think that'll take?
Oh, I don't think it'll take very long. I'll get one of my investigators over there to take those pictures as quickly as possible. I don't think there's anything else that I'm going to need right now. We've covered a great deal of information. The rest of it will have to leave up to me. I'll take care of everything that needs to be done to prepare the lawsuit.
There is one more thing that I'd like you to do. I want you to go back to the scene of the accident.
Anyway, that's an illustration. The meeting the client.
The scene of the accident.
I just classified that, sorry, I clicked the wrong button. 7 of them now. You can delete them.
It was April 4th.
5 weeks ago. I wish you could see any signals, Marshall. But I think that's all right. I think we'll be able to get everything we need. Now, what did it happen? You have the policeman's name?
No.
Oh, it would have been very now we're going to have to see if we can get hold of the medical records as soon as possible and get the names of those doctors. We'll need their testimony about the extent of your injuries. Again, it would have been very helpful if you could have gotten those names, but if you were hurt, that's all right. I'll get hold of him and we'll be able to track him down and see if, now I take it that the car is,
So,
when did that happen?
well, I was only 15, and you know how it goes.
What was the reason you were out after curfew at age 15?
We were just coming back from a party, and
Did you pay a fine?
yeah, I went to court.
You went to court and paid a fine for a citation. I don't think that'll give us too much problem, but of course I'll want to check that out. You see, it goes to your credibility as a witness. You went to court and paid a fine for a citation. I don't think that-
Okay.
The scene of the accident.
That was the one I just created. I'll just delete
Put in the
that.
streets, put in the stop.
Okay, well, and avarice, since you ask,
His number at work.
Oh, he's a doctor.
Right.
Well, that's very interesting. You know, doctors make a great deal of money. You might have something very interesting going here. Now, please tell me how, $2,000.
The Mercedes Benz.
Well, with that kind of damage to the car and your hospitalization and the injuries that you suffered, the pain that you've had since the accident, I think we have the beginning of a very substantial claim. Now, who made the estimate on?
okay. In any case, let me just show you one other thing quickly. Client actions, you can change your point of view. The tool allows you to change your point of view. We're looking at lawyer actions. Now, things like the client being assertive. Only one time during the interview was the client assertive. So we could focus on that and see when the client was assertive.
Is there any need, to go beyond just the medical and repair expenses? Is there any way just to get that taken care of? And I'd like it done
Ms.
as soon as
Marshall,
possible.
you've had some pretty severe injuries here, and you've had...
Of course, the lawyer's response was, don't be assertive with me. I'll tell you what to do. Client responding to 30 closed questions, etc. Or I can change it to floor and topic control. Who's controlling the flow of information in this? Who's asking the questions? Who's responding? I didn't classify this one, but you'd see that this, of course, is the lawyer. Or decision analysis. Who's making the decisions? And how are the decisions getting made? You can look at this an infinite number of ways, and I have 144 classification categories for just for a certain type of counseling session. One thing this allows us to do, we're creating a separate tool for creating these categories that can be exchanged among interviewing and counseling instructors. So they can look at, and then they can use them, each category, and I should have shown you this already, you can edit these, and you can add a description. So each category has the expert's definition of what kind of event is this and why is it important. And you can add these on the fly. You can build them in advance. The students can add their own categories if they want. They can create a button set and say, here are other things you didn't think of that I think are important in this video. And so the tool is designed to help capture the expertise of the experts who are reviewing it, so they can exchange that expertise among themselves, and you can create example videos then of the type you're talking about. We're going to post these all classified for the students. And so before they do an exercise, they can click on, say, okay, what's an example of doing this? What's an example of doing that? One of the features that we're adding to this is a cross-video tagging. And so you can show them 5 different lawyers doing the same thing. And so they can see accumulated examples of, and none of this requires any video editing. The video files simply need to be in a common location, and the tool will find them and jump to the right place and play the thing, show the annotation, and give examples. And so it's both an instructional tool, but it started out as a feedback tool, and it's primarily a feedback tool. Okay, any comments or questions?
So yours are all hypotheticals, like they do 22 hypotheticals. I mean, it's not real, like in the clinics, we got real cases, but these are, your whole concept is
This is all simulations, what I'm using this for. But as a feedback tool, it works just as well.
I was going to say, we could accumulate a student's interviews for each case for the whole semester.
You could.
And then at the end of the year, hopefully show the growth.
That's correct. They can see their performance over time with this, and see it side by side. In fact, one of the features we've designed is playlists. You can take 25 clips out of the database of student performances, put them in a playlist, and when the student plays the playlist, it'll just play them sequentially with annotations between them and the comments on each clip as it comes up.
Have you tested something like this, or are you planning on testing this with having multiple instructors or reviewers look at a single clip to see if there are variances in how people review?
We haven't tested it yet because the tool hasn't been good enough for that kind of test, but yes, in fact, I'm doing that next semester. In part because we're going to be doing some things with this tool that are now open to us that weren't before. And I'll explain those in a moment.
The 4 different points of view that you showed us, the clients, the lawyers, I mean, if you're reviewing it and tagging things, are you having to review it 4 times, or are you switching back and forth? I mean, it just seems like that's with 10 characteristics for each point of view, that's a lot to keep going. So
it is. For when the students do it, my thought is no more than 12, and probably less. Because the exercise is discrete, they're focusing on certain things, only want them to look at certain things. In an example video that I might use in class, I might spend 5 hours on it, but then you can share those. If other people have developed a great example video, then they give you the session file and the video, and you can use it. But there's a big investment. You do have to watch it. No matter how expert you are, you don't see everything at once.
Right.
What's really valuable with this, let me show you another one, is that look at this one. These are different categories. Consultation structure, counseling structure, client-centeredness, framing, identification of the problem, overview of options, evaluation of options, identification of consequences. Each one of those has a button set associated with it. Here's framing. Orders consultation, guides consultations, orienting the client, lawyer's purpose, topic transitions, activity transitions. It allows you to focus the student's mind on a specific comment or concept and then see examples of that. But it's in the same video. And so you can classify it 144 different ways. And one of the problems you have in teaching skills is transferring your schema into the student's head. And actually, this pedagogy, for me, deliberate practice is a tool for a schema-based pedagogy. And I'm a long way from that, but I'm moving in that direction toward finding an efficient way to take all of the synapses that are connected in my head and burning as many of them as I can into the student's head by the end of the semester. And this is one way of doing that. It takes a big investment up front, but that pays off later. I wouldn't do that with a student's video. The student's video, you're going to classify for the purpose of the exercise.
Well, and as you pointed out, this not only is great for teaching the students, but it would be great for teacher training and teacher collaboration. You could use the same exact thing, you wouldn't have to redo it.
Yeah.
New teachers could learn a lot from seeing what a more experienced teacher had done with this.
Because the category scheme there, the comments are there, the definitions are there, and then each category is a separate entity. And if you classify across videos and you using the same session file, which you would do for a given student's work, and then everything they've done you can classify based on video. You can sort based on video. You can sort based on category button. You can sort. There's a sort and search capacity here that allows you. We don't have the video one in yet because that's a feature that's yet to be implemented. But you can sort and search these any way you want, and then the experts can learn from each other. It's a way of sort of collecting that expertise, which it's completely inaccessible now. Because you can take one thing and analyze it as many ways as you can and have somebody else say, no, I don't see it that way. Let me tell you what I see.
Are you making this available generally, or is it still just for use at your school?
By fall, if everything goes well, we have a new programming team. The old one ran into some problems, and we had to switch teams. They were very good. No complaints about them at all, but we have a new team, and now we have a new schedule, and so by summer, we should be able to distribute this tool for use this fall.
I guess thinking about the application of the learning theory as put into practice with this technology, I guess I think I heard you say earlier in the morning session, and also seemed to come through in your paper, was the notion that as you've really adopted deliberate practice as a way of teaching, you've sort of narrowed down what you cover in your class.
That's correct. Yes, dramatically, probably 1/3 as much as I covered previously.
So I know that you're not a clinical teacher per se, but I guess if you could speak, one of the things I'm curious about is the clinic is really, obviously it's this next stage where you're moving almost into like an apprenticeship or something like that, where you're really asking students to integrate all these things. And so I guess the challenge I'm struggling with is, to the extent we don't have sort of a sequence of learning where students have done by requirement or something, an interviewing and counseling class like yours, or a negotiations class, could you envision how we could put this in an effective way?
This kind of tool?
Yeah.
Well, I think anything that you do in terms of observation that you see repetitively, you could certainly capture for a student. And but ultimately, my answer is they should take interviewing and counseling before they go in the clinic. Because what a combination. They learn the skill, they have it, they feel comfortable with it, they're fluent in its operation, and now they get to observe and work with clients with that skill. I think that's the structure that would be best, but I'd probably leave it up to you to think. We have thought about this not in terms of a live client clinic, but in terms of a pedagogy for teaching a specific skill. So does it seem to have any applicability? Certainly it provides a, let me make one other comment. I plan to use this as a teaching vehicle. In my theory, on the Monday classes, I'm going to show them examples, we're going to talk about it, we'll raise these for discussion. They're going to see this process in ways they've never seen it before. And so, to a certain extent, modeling is halfway there in performance learning.
Yeah.
And you could certainly, I think, develop the same kind of things to efficiently teach certain skills in a 2-class or 3-class interviewing module to get them ready for the clinic. You can move them more quickly, at least, in that direction. I don't know if that's...
No, it is. I guess I just sort of feel like if the analogy is like to sports, it feels like once you've got them in the clinic, you'd be giving students who haven't learned how to walk necessarily feedback on whether or not they're running well.
That's right.
And I'm not sure I don't know how helpful that is. I mean, I guess it's less helpful than saying, are you running well, but.
Well, and perhaps the answer is tools like this are going to be good vehicles for expediting instruction.
Sure.
And so many courses could be, or many modules could be more effective. Any thoughts about it? Any questions about its operation? This is basically what it does right now.
What are the items and things you plan to include for future development?
I've got that. In fact, that was my next item. So features under development. Good question. Okay, one is the video capture utility that I showed you. It's on the left here. We're having a presentations mode for a classroom where the type, what's annotated will be larger. You can change the different modes where you can show the video larger, you can show the annotation larger. Now by the way, I discovered last week there is a tool called Communicoach, developed by 3 communications professors at University of Illinois in collaboration with somebody. It's commercially available. It does some of the things. It's very similar. It's amazing. We didn't know about them. They didn't know about us. But we came at exactly the same task with the same needs. Their implementation is slightly different, but it looks remarkably similar, and it's commercially available right now. It doesn't do a lot. It doesn't do. What reminded me is that they do have a pop-up comments library, which is something we only thought of about a month ago. As I go through these templates, it's very tedious to write about the same thing and to be articulate and to give it what it deserves. And so we're going to have a pop-ups library that will pop up and paste in your finest articulation of what this issue is and how you correct it. Okay? They have that already in their tool. And so you might look up, it's isopreme.com. It looks to be a very nice tool. Probably we wouldn't have even done ours if they had theirs when they started. We're too far down the road to quit, and ours is more particularly relevant to the tasks that we want to support. So we'll probably continue. A video examples library. When you pop up a text, I have students say, write this nice thing, and then 3 weeks later they say, oh, they'll come up to me after class, I just got what you were saying 3 weeks ago. Didn't make any sense when I read it. And I showed an example in class and somehow that rang a bell. Well, what we're going to do is, rather than having these long videos, some of them are an hour long, of great examples of how to do something, we can pop up a little 2-minute segment. When the annotation area will have an icon there, or several icons that are examples. Here's what you had a problem with. Describe it textually, maybe from the pop-up library, and then they click on the icon and they'll see someone else doing it well. And so the instant ability to add examples at the time of feedback is, I think, going to be a powerful feature of this tool. And that's because, I think it's the next item. Now, category databases I've talked about, the ability to exchange categories, classification. Playlist authoring for presentation mode, that's collect somebody's examples together and play them in class, or have them say, now, I've collected these together, look at this playlist. And you'll see what's happened over time or what you're doing. We're going to have synchronized images from 2 video files using web cameras, one on the client, one on one negotiator, one on the other, one on the client, one on the lawyer. You can load both of those web camera generated videos, the utility for syncing them. You just get to the same part, hit sync, and then they play together. It picks the sound up off of one and plays the video from both. So you can see the client reaction and the lawyer reaction at the same time. A color bar. Let me see if I can. These colors, we're going to put a bar across here, and when you sort down to these 4, that color will show up on the bar under the scrubber at every point where that occurred, so you can see visually where things happened in the process. And when you click on it, the scrubber will jump to that point and play. And so not only do you have this database, but you now have a visual representation of when things happened in time as well. Cross-video tagging, this is one that's very important. The ability to, right here, to pop up and edit your session file. We don't have it in yet, or we do have edit session file. And edit that and change the video. Have a drop-down list of all the videos that are in a certain place. You just change your video and start tagging that when it goes into the same database. When you click on that later, it loads the right video and plays that clip. And so that allows you to accumulate over time the student's work. And the category sort and the search and sort allows you to say, I only want the ones associated with this video now. Don't clutter my list with things from prior work, or to open it up. So the ability to load in, and that allows us in this annotation area to have, say, add an example, and it can pick an example from the examples database and put it into this student session file of any example you have. And so that's how you give these examples to the students. Okay. Then the integrated video recording utility using QuickTime 7 standard. Report generation. This is something we already built. We built the video capture prototype and the report generation. So rather than having this all buried in the computer, you can generate tables like the ones I used and I showed you earlier, those templates. Put out all of your comments and everything in a nice sequential order in a document, if you prefer to look at it that way. And MPEG 7 XML compatible. MPEG 7 is try to develop a universal method for classifying video, the content of video. And so we want our XML files to be represented within that standard. So you can put these on the web, not that we would, but then search for any video that has an example of a timeline in it. So when you classify something, you develop an XML code for it, and you follow XML 7 standards for classification. Okay, well, that's the performance. Now, there is a tool now available from isoprim.com, and it doesn't do a great deal of what we have there, but it does the feedback capture very nicely, I think. I haven't actually run it, only discovered it Saturday. I got the email on Thursday. I didn't bother to look at the email until just before I got on the plane, and I was impressed with what they've done. Now, I don't know how it operates, so I can't vouch for anything else, but it's the same idea. And my bottom line is, whether our tool is useful for anyone other than ourselves, or even if it's not useful for us, I can see ahead that this is where it's going. With digital video is going to drive it all. And therefore, you're going to have tools like this that tame that monster, that allow you to access and feedback and instruction brought down to the instructor's level, the expert's level. And I would say that we're on the edge of a revolution in the next X number of years in the use of video in our teaching as a result of tools like that. Okay. Is that too much to absorb? Okay. Well, here's logistics.
We're glad the tech people are here listening.
Yeah. Well, if we could get the CID to help us program this thing, we would move it along a lot faster. CIT, sorry. Okay, the next part, the question about the video files. How do you manage that? Here's what we do. We use Microsoft donated SharePoint, a SQL database. They technicians set up a SharePoint server for us, connected it to the SQL database. It's a wonderful thing, absolutely wonderful. There are other versions of this that other companies produce, but this one's built into Windows. A Windows server automatically has SharePoint on it. You have to add the SQL database, their standard version, which is $2,200 per CPU on your server. So they gave us one free. We eventually bought another one. So we have a two-server 2 CPU server that we bought just to support our skills courses. And we have a backup server as well, actually. So we've got 2 new blades in our server array. They're top-of-the-line servers for uploading, downloading files, basically. That's all we use them for. SQL allows students to upload from their web cameras instantly. Before they leave class, I have access to every video they've done. High-speed wireless makes all that possible. They just, when they're through, they open this thing. It's a very simple process. They click upload, takes their video file, stores it in a password-protected area under their name in sequenced order for how they did them during the semester. It's not easy technology to put in place. You need your CIT people for this, but once you have it, it's a piece of cake. Again, like the web cameras, I've never had a student that couldn't figure out how to upload a file or download one. And so what it does is it timestamps their submissions. You can see when they did it. Gives them secure libraries. It notifies me every time a student does something on this server. And you can control whether it notifies you at the end of the day, the end of the week, or instantly. You can edit word processing files directly from this server. And then save it. When you click save, it saves it back to the server. So all of that editing I do, I just go to the server, find the student posts an evaluation with their video file. I double-click on the evaluation, it loads it into my word processor. I download it. It isn't a great server for streaming, so I download the videos, and then I pop the video up in the window and start typing away. So it's a 2-step process for me, downloading the video and then editing it. So it saves the edit. It can handle files up to 1 gigabyte in size. So student does a 40 megabyte exercise, 15-minute exercise, no problem. They go into a studio and they give them a 400 megabyte high-quality video of what they did. Our media services people upload it for them. And then they download it later over their high-speed web connection. So the students have instant access to anything they do in the studios, and we have instant access to anything they do in the classroom. It has shared folders, so I can post examples, PowerPoints, anything. All I do is the same process, upload, it's there for them. They can get it from the shared folders and download anything. So if we're given an exercise, I say, look at this example before you do the exercise. It's instantly available to every student. And I maintain the user accounts. Now, it's possible because Microsoft has remote, what do they call it, Active Directory access. So I maintain the Active Directory for this, not something that everyone would want to do.
So basically you have to enter in each student's name?
At the beginning of the semester, I set up the folders for them and the user accounts, but someone else could do that. I just do it because I know how to do it. And then version control. Every time you post an evaluation, it keeps the old version, and now it has your comments. Students have to review my comments and post a certified copy that they've read what I've said, and they post that. And so all 3 versions are there, and all 3 versions are time-stamped as to when they were submitted. Okay, let me just show you the SharePoint real quickly. I think I forgot to bring it up, but it should work. Am I wireless here?
Well, not if you haven't set it up.
Does that take a while?
Can we switch to the other computer? Just
Sure.
for that demo?
Sure. Please come over there.
You can take this over and use the wireless now.
I have to type in a password.
And then bring this right over.
Just bring up Internet Explorer. So the webcast that just disappeared off the screen, right? Could you maximize that? Okay, and type in www.18, oh no, I'm sorry, just type 187.
And this doesn't look like.
Oh, you don't have it either.
Let's see what's happening there. I read a report of a network issue. I didn't think it would affect us.
Okay. Well, we don't need to demonstrate it, but it's a one-button click to upload their videos. They click on it, it says upload what, browse. The videos are always in the same folders, they know where to get them. And it takes about a minute to upload a 40 megabyte file to the server, and then I automatically, or have a TA automatically download everything that's posted. So that's SharePoint. SharePoint makes this all work. Our SharePoint server got a virus on it, and we had to shut it down for a couple of days. Luckily, I had last year's old SharePoint server, so I immediately shifted all the student accounts to that, or we would have collapsed. This method doesn't work without some computer-mediated, network-mediated exchange mechanism. Too many files, too large, files are too large, but it's a piece of cake with it. The students and I just looked at each other when we thought the network wasn't available. What are we to do? We weren't going to do it any other way, I'll tell you that. You have a question?
Yeah, when you download these files, how long do you keep them on your computer?
Actually, I preserve them.
Okay.
I've got them going back 6 years, actually, for the 4 exercises we're doing, and going back 2 years. These 200 gigabyte external hard drives are really handy.
Okay.
So I have a couple, I have 3 of those. I just keep a complete archive of everything. And I give the students a DVD as well, and I make a backup DVD of their work.
But for like an instructor who is using this and say they don't have an external hard drive, and
well, yeah, as long as your SharePoint is backed up, there's no reason to keep any of them.
but you said it's not good for streaming though.
Well, you download it and then play it, and you can delete it then. But it could be perhaps be made good for streaming. We just we're a Novell, what do you call the freeware servers, Apache or something shop, and so these Windows servers are new to our tech people, and they aren't handling them as well as they should. Okay, well anyway, that's SharePoint. That's how we handle the logistical. I wish I could show you. These are student accounts, and they have built into them. You can see the list of exercises my students did last semester. I mean, it goes on and on and on. I can't get into it to show you, but there are 45 files on each student account, maybe 50. And half of those are video files. And they simply produced all that work as a result of their deliberate practice exercises. Let me just walk you through quickly. This is a student doing an exercise, uploading it to the SharePoint server. This is the process. You just go to this page and click upload, then you find the file, and it automatically puts it in your library on the SharePoint server. Then the student does the evaluation using the template. Uploads out. I get the files first, then they do the evaluations by a deadline. They upload that. In my office, I review it, annotate it. I talked about the process for doing that. Uploads to the SharePoint server when I save it. Student downloads it, is notified by email that it's there, downloads it, reviews it, and reposts it after certifying that they've reviewed the exercise. That is a 9-step process. That's why the SharePoint server is absolutely critical. It's not an onerous process for anyone other than me at the moment. And the students don't complain about it, and they manage it very nicely. Okay? Now, here's a question you're asking. How do you do this stuff? Doesn't it kill you? Well, it does.
Not what we want to do.
Well, it depends. If you have some exercises or 22 exercises. I can manage a 16, and with the new tools, I'll manage it better. But here's something we're doing next semester. Expert feedback. Distributing the work. We're going to have virtual reviewers by adjunct faculty. My class, a year from now or 2 years from now, I will not be doing anything other than spot checking reviews. We're taking my former students who have performed well, who were highly motivated in the class, and now we're in practice. And with the SharePoint server, it doesn't matter where in the world they're located, because downloading it from SharePoint is the same as downloading it in my office. And so we have hired 3 adjuncts for next semester, and my best student out of the class, or one of the 2 best, is going to be the TA for the class, a TA reviewer, with the idea that when he graduates and gets into practice, he will be an adjunct reviewer. We found tremendous receptivity from former students who are delighted to have an adjunct relationship with the university. It allows them to keep their skills up, to keep thinking about these things, and it brings me feedback from practice. This is turning distance learning on its head. We all meet at the law school, we do our exercises there, we operate as a class, but our reviewers, our experts are at a distance. They're virtually tapping into what we're doing and providing feedback to the students. For me, it's a terrific model. These students are good, and their insights, as they get into practice, it's going to help me evolve the course. They can provide feedback. These exercises I discovered in practice that made no sense. This method, let me tell you how to refine it. What we're going to do is connect a skills course, a simulated skills course, to the practice by using adjunct reviewers. And so each student's going to be, I should say a virtual tutor back there. Each student will be assigned to a virtual tutor, mentor. These are students who've had the class, so they have their autobiographical sketches. The student's going to look at their old autobiographical sketch. They will look at the autobiographical sketch of the 4 students they're assigned to. Each one will be on a 1-credit contract for 50 hours of adjunct work during the semester. And every time one of those 4 students posts, they will review it and provide feedback. And I can, of course, tap into any one of those and look at them as part of the training process. I'm going to provide them with packets that instruct them on the goals of each exercise. Even though they didn't do them as instructors. So we're having some meetings over Christmas break for those that are nearby. One reviewer will be in California, another will be in Salt Lake City, it's 50 miles away, another will be in Provo nearby. But in no case will the reviewers be coming to the school, meeting the students in person. There'll be virtual reviewers that are going to be connected to the course. It exactly maps to what I do. To the extent they have expertise and they can see these things, it offloads the principal logistical burden of the course onto them. And you can see what's been offloaded now. It's been offloaded from media services with the web cameras. They upload SharePoint. The virtual reviewers pick it up, provide feedback. Their mentors, their tutors, they're tracking 4 students carefully throughout the semester. And we're moving to the coaching model. Because we have discrete exercises, there are discrete things for them to look for. They've already done these exercises, they're familiar with them. All of my reviewers have graduated within the last 2 years. So, and are now in practice. Okay? It makes the course scalable. That's how we're adding a new section next semester. We'll have 4 tutors, 4 adjuncts handling that section. I'll be teaching the theory course, but I can combine the 2. I'm not going to do it next semester. I'm going to have 2 successive theory classes. It'll avoid instructor burnout, which I'm a very determined person, so I haven't burned out yet, but I would in time. It connects the practitioner's experience to the law school instruction, and what I hope is a mutually beneficial way. It's not like hiring any adjunct. This is hiring people who know the theory, who are trained, who are good, and now we're trying to apply it in practice. So it's a different kind of model. And I can now add a TA from each class, or 2, that I'm training to be a future adjunct, so that we can scale the course for as many students as are interested, and as long as the dean will provide adjuncts. They will not do that, I believe. But we can raise money to pay for those adjuncts. That's not going to be a problem, I'm quite convinced. This gives practitioners, and for a fundraising thing, for lawyers who are otherwise going to donate to a way which they always felt the students should have been something that happened anyway. We think we can raise money to pay for our adjuncts. And adjuncts are inexpensive compared to full-time faculty. What it would pay to this course consumes a faculty member if it's taught the way I'm teaching it now. And so you think of adding adjuncts in at their rates, 4 of them doesn't approximate a fifth of what you're paying a faculty member. And so we're trying to find an economic way to scale the course and to get around the logistics of doing the deliberate practice work. Anyway, then there's more here, but I think what time are we supposed to finish?
Around noon.
Okay.
We have a little bit of time for questions and
Sure.
some discussion.
I have some things on preparation, but, well, let me mention this one. This is probably too much to absorb, but I'm also concurrently working on something called a schema builder. Now, this is unique to interviewing and counseling, but it is a website that takes all of the material that we use in the course and connects it to models. You can see the model going down the left. And they can click on any part of the model so that their learning occurs in context. To have connected, organized knowledge at the end of the semester, you have to have a connected, organized way of learning it. And so when they prepare for an exercise, they'll go down. We're going to have, I think, 8 different models. They'll work always within these models, which provide them a framework for hooking what they learn into. And they learn these models during the semester, but they can go out and expand the model. They can see definitions of the process. This expansion of counseling itself is a whole model that breaks out. They can see video examples, links, images, graphics. What we're trying to do is develop a schema-like network of knowledge that the students are going to, but this is down the road. This is not something I came to present, but I'm having fun with it, so I thought I'd mention that it's there. But I believe that one way to connect learning is to make sure that they're learning it in a schema-based way. And so that's what the schema builder, I don't know whether it'll work, but it's a terrific amount of, it's enjoyable for me because it allows me to take my knowledge and say, how do I have it organized? Sort of an expertise capture task of some sort. Okay, questions?
Okay, I'm going to get back to our problem of having students coming in without an interviewing and counseling class.
Yeah, just change that.
Well, that's a long-range goal, and I think that's a good one, but...
Well, let me mention one thing in that regard.
Okay.
By the end of this semester, I will have packaged this course. Absolutely package it. It's going to be automated, every aspect of it will be automated so that the exercises, I haven't even showed you the individual legal problems they have. I'm sorry to interrupt your question, but let me just show you this.
That's interesting to me too, the packaging.
I don't have it up, but we have automated everything, so everything moves forward a semester automatically. The packets move forward, the exercises move forward, the individual legal problems move forward by date, by name of student, by gender, all of those things. And so it's possible then to, the reason I'm packaging it is that no one should go through what I've been through to develop this. But if you put it in the context that we finally put it in, it's a piece of cake to teach it.
Right. This may be an impossible question to answer, but if you had to pick 3 or 4 exercises focused on
For interviewing and counseling?
And counseling that one could incorporate in a clinic setting, could you do that?
If you added to it 5 or 6 examples or 8 examples that students could look at that cover another range of things. I would pick a listening exercise, but you have to have the listening theory behind it, which is really a very subtle theory.
Right.
I would pick a timeline, a T-funnel, a topical probe exercise. You said 5, right?
I'll take 5.
Okay. A timeline exercise. This is just for interviewing.
Right.
And what was the other one I have? Oh, a narrative exercise. That's sort of with the listening. That can be combined with the listening exercise. And then probably a consultation exercise, an interview, where you try and bring them all together at least one time. Because the students, they report when they get to their capstone after being through all these things, they say, gee, I finally figured out how these work together, or I'm getting a sense of it. That's what
Because that's going to be our task, to use these tools.
Well, and again, this could be packaged to deliver just those 5 exercises.
Right. And you're willing to leave some of those exercises with us today?
Sure. I mean, I'm happy to give you, when this is packaged, I'll deliver you the whole thing if you want. You can pick and choose.
That would be great.
And I mean, in a clinic setting, if you don't have, and most universities that teach interviewing counseling don't make it a prerequisite for the clinic anyway.
Right.
In my view, they should, but I'm very biased in that regard.
We don't even have the course here.
Yeah. Well, I would be willing to, if someone wants to teach that course, I'll package this and work with them to teach it. We'll even share our server. So the SharePoint server is so powerful that we're not even beginning to use the gigabytes of space we've got. But you folks could set one up just as easily.
I was going to assert that using the Microsoft product like SharePoint is not a necessary element of achieving the goals that we prescribed.
We've had one company that has a $100,000 software package that does the same thing, has offered it to us free if we put it on our servers. We haven't done it yet because we already got SharePoint working and it works just fine. But there may be others that actually will work just as efficiently.
Well, it's the kind of course that the clinical faculty might be able to teach collectively, if you had.
Oh, sure. Because it's broken out into discrete chunks.
Right.
And you could, somebody could take the counseling or divide up counseling into different things.
The legal writing faculty might be very willing and interested in doing that too. I mean, they have the same skill set and some of the teaching now, but some of them would probably be interested in doing it.
One thing we could do,
If they got the work enough, then it wouldn't be ours.
That's true.
if you want to turn off the webcam so we're making a...
Mute the webcam?
Yeah. Well, we're at the end anyway.
Yeah, we do.
I don't want to cut the webcast people out.